Today we will talk about gender and leadership. Until the 1970s, gender and leadership issues were largely overlooked by academic researchers. However, the increasing presence of women in leadership roles and academia, influenced by societal shifts, has sparked a significant scholarly interest in studying leadership and gender. The initial question of "can women lead?" has become obsolete, with numerous successful female leaders in various fields. Current research focuses on whether men and women lead differently, and if men are more effective leaders, alongside the broader inquiry into why women remain underrepresented in top leadership positions. This chapter delves into empirical evidence concerning the gender gap in leadership, explores potential reasons behind it, and discusses strategies for advancing women in leadership roles. Despite significant improvements in women's educational attainment and participation in the U.S. labor force, they remain underrepresented in top leadership roles. Women earn 57% of bachelor's degrees, 60% of master's degrees, and 53% of doctoral degrees, and made up over half of the labor force by late 2019. However, they hold only 5.8% of S&P 500 CEO positions and 21.2% of board seats. Politically, women occupy just 127 of 535 congressional seats, with only 26% in the Senate and 23.2% in the House, and the U.S. ranks 83rd globally in women's representation in national legislatures. The barriers to women's advancement, often referred to as the glass ceiling, were first popularized in 1986. However, this metaphor has limitations, as it suggests a singular barrier to access. Eagly and Carley proposed the leadership labyrinth to better represent the ongoing challenges women face throughout their careers. Sheryl Sandberg introduced the jungle gym metaphor to illustrate the diverse paths women can take in leadership. The global gender gap in leadership persists, with women often in lower-level positions compared to men. Explanations for this gap fall into three categories: differences in human capital investment, inherent gender differences, and prejudice against female leaders. While women earn degrees at rates equal to or higher than men, they remain underrepresented in top roles, facing barriers such as domestic responsibilities that impact work continuity. The term pipeline problem suggests a lack of qualified women, but evidence shows women are present in the workforce but struggle to advance due to systemic issues. Women often receive fewer developmental opportunities, mentorship, and face biases that limit their career growth. Additionally, when promoted, they may encounter the glass cliff, being placed in precarious roles that heighten the risk of failure. However, research has indicated that women leaders, such as female governors during the COVID-19 pandemic, can be highly effective in crisis situations. In fact, the idea that women lack education or voluntarily opt out of leadership roles is not supported. Rather, domestic responsibilities and workplace biases significantly hinder their progress. Arguments explaining the leadership gap often suggest that women are inherently different from men, reflecting societal views about gender. While some claim that these differences result in women being more effective leaders, this perspective complicates the understanding of the leadership gap. Academic research, however, presents a more nuanced view, indicating that gender may not significantly influence leadership style or effectiveness. Meta-analyses show that women do not lead in a more interpersonal or less task-oriented way than men. Instead, they often adopt a more democratic leadership style. Notably, women leaders are frequently devalued when they adopt traditionally masculine leadership styles or roles, especially by male evaluators. This suggests that women's preference for a democratic approach may be a strategic response to achieve more favorable evaluations in a biased environment. Recent research on gender differences in transformational leadership indicates that women tend to exhibit more transformational leadership styles compared to men, engaging more in contingent reward behaviors. While these styles are associated with effectiveness, female transformational leaders still face devaluation by male subordinates. Additionally, studies suggest that women leaders often prioritize social values that enhance others' welfare more than men do. This emphasis on social values is evident among CEOs and board members and may influence behaviors related to corporate philanthropy and responsibility. Research comparing the effectiveness of male and female leaders indicates that both genders are equally effective overall, but effectiveness varies by context. Women tend to excel in roles aligned with communal skills, such as in education and social services, while they are less effective in masculinized roles, like military positions. They also face challenges when supervising more male subordinates or being rated by male evaluators. Recent studies using 360 evaluations show that women are often viewed as better leaders across various traits, with this perception improving at higher leadership levels. Although advocates argue that increasing women's representation on corporate boards could enhance financial outcomes, studies suggest that the financial impact is typically minimal. However, gender-diverse boards do correlate with positive organizational practices, such as reduced gender pay disparities and improved equity policies, indicating that diversity can benefit organizations in ways beyond financial performance. A common barrier to women's advancement in leadership is the presumed difference in commitment and motivation compared to men. However, research shows that women are just as committed to their careers as men and often prioritize their roles as parents and partners similarly. Women tend to promote themselves less for leadership roles, often using terms like facilitator rather than leader, and they are more likely to emerge as social facilitators than formal leaders. Studies indicate that women may expect to have less influence in male-dominated groups, which decreases their desire to lead. Additionally, men are generally more assertive in negotiating for leadership opportunities, while women face social costs and biases when they self-promote or negotiate, leading to lower participation in these activities. In fact, while women exhibit slight disadvantages in masculine leadership roles, they often excel in democratic and transformational leadership styles. They are equally effective as leaders and show a slight competence advantage, yet their reluctance to self-promote and negotiate, combined with the influence of group dynamics, limits their advancement. Women also tend to prioritize others' welfare and ethical behavior more than men in their leadership approaches. A key explanation for the leadership gap is rooted in gender biases and stereotypes that associate caregiving with women and leadership with men. These stereotypes influence perceptions and judgments about individuals based on their gender, often leading to biased evaluations. Men are typically viewed as possessing agentic traits such as confidence and decisiveness, while women are seen as embodying communal traits like warmth and sensitivity. Gender stereotypes are resistant to change and can lead to prejudiced judgments, particularly against women, including women of color who also face racial biases. A notable example of this bias is seen in symphony orchestra auditions, where anonymizing candidates behind a screen significantly increased women's selection rates. In leadership contexts, these stereotypes create challenges for women, as the agentic qualities often deemed necessary for leadership conflict with the communal traits typically associated with women. This role congruity theory suggests that women face pressure to adopt masculine leadership traits while simultaneously being criticized for not fitting traditional feminine ideals. As a result, women may be perceived as less qualified for elite leadership roles, leading to harsher evaluations when they succeed. Prejudice against female leaders contributes to less favorable attitudes toward them and greater challenges in attaining top leadership roles. A notable example is the 1989 Supreme Court case Price Waterhouse v. Ann Hopkins, where Hopkins was denied partnership for being too masculine, highlighting biases related to gender stereotypes. Media coverage of female politicians, like Hillary Clinton during the 2008 primaries, also demonstrates the pervasive sexism in leadership evaluations. Decision-making processes for selecting leaders often lack structure, allowing biases to influence outcomes, particularly through the concept of homosocial reproduction, where decision-makers prefer candidates who resemble themselves, typically disadvantaging women. Additionally, women in male-dominated groups may feel pressure as tokens, leading to heightened scrutiny of their performance. Research shows that women respond to gender-based stereotypes either by conforming to them or countering them, with their reactions influenced by various factors such as self-efficacy and the group's composition. While much research has focused on white leaders, recent studies are beginning to explore the intersectional experiences of women of color in leadership, indicating that their experiences can vary significantly. This area remains critical as more women of color enter leadership roles. The number of women successfully reaching leadership positions is increasing due to several factors. Organizational cultures are evolving, challenging traditional gendered work assumptions and valuing flexibility and diversity. Strategies such as involving women in career development programs, assigning them to high-visibility roles, and fostering supportive mentoring relationships are crucial for reducing the leadership gap. Promoting gender equity in domestic responsibilities is essential, as shared child care and household duties can significantly impact women's leadership opportunities. Women can also negotiate role expectations both at home and at work, advocating for family-friendly reforms and enhancing their negotiation skills by framing discussions in gender-neutral terms. Women are increasingly starting their own businesses, which account for a significant portion of private firms and employment. This entrepreneurial shift is changing perceptions of leadership. Women often face a double standard in leadership roles, needing to balance competence with perceived femininity. Adopting a transformational leadership style, which emphasizes supportive and considerate behavior, can enhance women's effectiveness. Recent research indicates that women are becoming more assertive and valuing leadership attributes, while the perception of leadership is shifting to be more androgynous. In fact, as workplace norms change, domestic responsibilities become more equitable, and women's negotiation power increases, we can expect to see more women in elite leadership roles. Understanding the research on gender and leadership is crucial for promoting more women into top leadership positions, thereby advancing equal opportunity and creating more diverse and representative leadership structures. This increased diversity not only enhances the talent pool, but also leads to more successful organizations characterized by higher collective intelligence, innovation, ethical practices, and financial success. Examining the effects of gender on leadership sheds light on critical aspects such as style differences, effectiveness variations, and the barriers women face. Shifting from traditional masculine leadership styles to more androgynous approaches like democratic and transformational leadership can enhance leadership effectiveness by allowing individuals to engage in the best practices regardless of gender norms. Gender biases, often subtle and implicit, can significantly impact women's perception, evaluation, and range of accepted leadership behaviors. Awareness of these biases is essential to address and overcome them at individual, interpersonal, organizational, and societal levels. By understanding the complexities of gender dynamics, organizations can work towards providing equal opportunities for women in leadership roles, accessing the best talent pool, and fostering gender diversity, which is linked to organizational success. So, acknowledging and addressing gender-related issues in leadership can lead to more inclusive and successful organizations, ensuring equal opportunities for women in influential leadership roles and contributing to a more diverse and effective leadership landscape. Issues of gender and leadership are part of a broader discussion on leadership and diversity, which includes factors such as race and ethnicity. While research on gender and leadership is more developed, studies on racial and ethnic minority leaders are limited. Although there are similarities in the challenges faced by women and people of color, the specific dynamics differ. Leadership research should prioritize understanding the effects of diverse demographic characteristics and their interactions, such as race and gender. Much of the existing research on gender in leadership is based in Western contexts, raising concerns about the generalizability of findings to other cultures where gender roles differ. Additionally, there is a need for more research addressing the domestic sphere, as the leadership gap cannot be fully closed without also addressing gender disparities at home. So, a more comprehensive approach that includes diverse perspectives and cross-cultural contexts is necessary to fully understand and address leadership diversity. The gender gap in influential leadership roles is gradually narrowing, although challenges persist. Understanding and dismantling the barriers within the labyrinth can facilitate women's progress to top positions. Solutions to gender inequalities span various levels, from individual and interpersonal to organizational and societal. Prejudice and biases are significant hurdles at the interpersonal and individual levels. Overcoming these biases involves raising awareness and embracing leadership behaviors that combine competence with qualities traditionally associated with femininity. Effective negotiation skills are also crucial for women to secure resources for their professional and personal growth. Macro-organizational and societal changes. At a broader organizational and societal level, positive changes are occurring to promote gender equality in leadership. Shifts in organizational culture, enhanced career development opportunities for women, mentorship programs, and increased representation of women in key roles are fostering greater female leadership presence. Structural societal changes towards more equitable sharing of childcare and domestic responsibilities are further propelling women into elite leadership positions.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.